So thanks very much for joining us, and I'm delighted to welcome for our first session, which is Internationalisation, the way forward both physically and virtually, our wonderful Dean Peter Yamakawa from ESAN, who's going to chair it. Peter, welcome. Please come up on stage.
So before start the session, I like to talk a little bit about internationalization from my point of view. Then the panelists will discuss about this important topic. The pandemic has affected the way we live, the way we educate, the way we work. And when the pandemic started, all the business schools in the region, I think, we did a good job. We moved from face-to-face teaching to online teaching in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks. So we have to be very proud because we are Latin Americans. But now we have to think that we are in a new state. So the pandemic has accelerated many things. For example, something that we call digital transformation. An important force is artificial intelligence. And no less important is technology, telecommunications. We are talking now in Latin America of 5G technology. So we have to prepare for this opportunity because the connectivity will increase, but also the competition will increase. So it's imperative that for business school to have a new international strategy. So the question arises in my mind is, are business schools in the region preparing for this new stage that we call new normality? With the increasing of the connectivity, as I mentioned before, 5G, for example. So now it gives us a lot of challenges, but also opportunities, but also threats. Now we are feeling the competition from all over the world. So the platform-based providers like Coursera, MOOCs, how we are going to deal with that? But also not only the small platform that we could say, also very important business school from all over the world, from Spain, from America, from all over the world. So the question arises in my mind too. We, Latin American Business School, what are we going to do to face with this threat, with these challenges, but also with many opportunities, I think. So I don't have the answer, luckily. So I will invite an excellent panel. We have Juan Escalante, MBA director of Universidad de Afit. He's my friend. We share the same hobby. We love soccer. My favorite thing is Atlético Nacional de Medellín, for example. I think he was a champion this year. Of course. So a very nice friend, and Virginia Lacio, please have a seat. The former dean of SPY from Ecuador, School of Management. And Liliana Lopez, Dean of School of Management, Universidad Externado de Colombia. Okay, so Thank you. I will have a seat. And before our discussion, so I will ask you to introduce yourself very briefly. So Liliana, let's start. Ladies first, always.
So my name is Liliana Lopez. I'm the new dean of the School of Management at Universidad External. By new, I mean really new. I've been less than 3 months on the job. So a lot of what we'll discuss here on my side, it's about what the former dean has done and what we as a school has helped him build. I have a PhD in business administration from the Ivy Business School in Canada and a master's in information systems from the LSE in the UK.
Thank you. Virginia?
Virginia Lacio. I was a former dean of SPAE in Ecuador. I was dean for about 16 years until 2018, and now I am a professor, mostly teaching and struggling to publish, most of us. I'm a mechanical engineer from a university, Paul. I have an MBA and later on a PhD from Tulane University. I work mostly on OB, entrepreneurship, and family business.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Juan Esteban Escalante. In my academic formation, I hold a PhD from PUCP. I also hold an MBA and a Master in Project Management, and I came from the automotive sector. I have been working in the automotive sector for almost 5 years in the supply chain management world. Then I arrived to the university, and now, and since 2017, I'm running and leading the MBA program.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So I will start with the first question. So how important is globalization in terms of for business school, and how this become less or more important during the pandemic? So Virginia?
Yep.
Yeah, Virginia, okay.
It's been important all the time, but I believe it was not as easy as now, and we realized probably from one day from the other that we were exposed to the world through technology, conference, and all that. Before, for example, in our case, it was hard to bring foreign students to our university, mostly because the country probably is not so attractive, safety issues, etc. But also bring our students abroad. Budget of students, for example, and mostly visas. Ecuadorians need visas almost for every country besides the region. And even in the region in some countries, like Mexico, for example. So it was hard, and I believe that in that context, it's more important now. I also believe that it become more than geography to be global and more than knowledge. We actually manage knowledge very well, conveying knowledge to students and all that, but it's more than having a broader view to work on attitudes and among all those opportunities, as Peter says, also challenges for faculty mainly, in trying to get the students to be able to move seamlessly across cultures. Because sometimes you are exposed to new faculty, students, companies without moving from home now. Mm-hmm. So it's, I believe the challenge is in there.
Liliana?
Yeah, I totally agree with Virginia in that, the pandemic exposes to the possibility of having our students have international experiences from home, and that made a whole lot of difference from them because they didn't have to travel, and travel is complicated, as we've just discussed. It is great that we can do it again, but it is not easy to do it for some of them. So I think the idea that they can be from home, the challenge with it, though, is that if you're trying to have a truly international experience from a Zoom square, it's just not the same thing. There's body language issues that you miss. There's even food and other things that the travel experience is supposed to bring to you that they won't have. So what we're trying to do as a school is we're trying to retake the travel experiences for our students and combine, like all our MBA students, for example, have to be exposed to some international experience. And they do that through international seminars at the very least, and they can do that online. But some of them are starting to travel again. So I think a healthy combination of a little bit of travel, a little bit of staying home, and kind of getting the world into your living room, that's a good combination for us.
Our bet was a little bit different from your point of view, because we are so convinced that living internationalization implies going overseas. Although you can live and having, for example, visiting professors without the necessity of bringing them to the country, we think, and one of our pillars is experiential learning, and to live and to deeply create the experience of internationalization, we think you have to travel. And we have split the internationalization initiatives in three pillars. The first, the academic, and it is possible using screens, because you can hire someone from the States, someone from Spain, someone from Portugal, someone from China, someone from everywhere. But there are two pillars that you cannot afford without traveling. The first, the corporate world. When our students go overseas, they visit companies and they live the ecosystem that the dynamics of this own territory faces. So they visit companies, they visit organizations, and that's something that you cannot do when you are using a screen. And the third, it is related to the opportunity of facing new daily basis challenges. For example, how to get a train. That's how to be lost in a city that you know. It's your first time overseas. How can you go from the airport to the hotel? There are some, they can be slight challenges, but they are really, really, really important to get a person be more and well prepared for the world. So once I saw what was facing, because nobody expected a pandemic. I think nobody did it. Okay, at the beginning we were shocked, and we didn't know what to do. Overnight we had to switch to a screen university that had been running the business from centuries using the same method. Okay, it's time to go digital. And you said, how? And we did it. But the internationalization pillar had to hold on until we said, okay, it's time to go back. So, for example, in our education, in our executive education programs, we use virtual helps and virtual tools. For example, hiring someone from the States mainly, or from Spain, and I think it works. But when you are, for example, analyzing, or for instance, MBA students or master in project management students, you say, okay, that's not enough. It is mandatory, at least is our humble point of view, that our students need to travel. And it's something that has become a differentiation from us to our School of Business.
I was curious, Liliana, you mentioned some important keyword that pay attention to me, is that you mentioned healthy combination between. It's a difficult question, I think so. Yeah, but at least let's try to find some answers or some thoughts about a healthy combination between face-to-face teaching and online teaching. What is for you? What means healthy combination?
Being exposed to both as a student and as a professor. I think we both, the two communities need to be exposed to both. So students know how to communicate. like, we all know the world has changed. We can't really change that. Change has happened already. So yes, they will need to learn how to move around in other cities, in other cultures, but they also have to know how to move around in the context of Zoom screens. And they have to be proficient at doing that. So when I think about a healthy combination, I'm thinking more of the idea that they have to be good at both things, at communicating and getting their message across and getting negotiations done and everything, whether it is in an online environment or a face-to-face environment. So, and same for professors. We need to be good at communicating and facilitating education in both environments.
Someone?
Yes, I totally agree with you. It is a threat, but also an opportunity. Because what the pandemic showed us is that the pandemic showed us a highly connected world. We are more than 8 billion people in the world. And in the pre-pandemic world, we didn't analyze and we didn't have a point of view in which we said it's possible to have a connection with someone in China. And we, for example, we were worried about how to bring a professor from China. And it was costly and it was demanding. And we said, okay, let's do it. But as you said, it's a balance. And I think it's not a one size fits all, because there are some programs in which you, for example, with the professors be online, it's fine. But there are some programs in which your focus is on some skills that you, at least is our point of view, you cannot develop without letting them facing that challenge.
I have some question about, I don't know if in all this discussion we are considering generations. For some, it's a difficult question for me.
Of course,
Don't worry. So, for example, we are living with Generation X, baby boomers, Generation Y, Generation Z, and so on. So, for example, you say, okay, we have to find the right balance, the ideal balance. But probably for a digital native like a Generation Z, probably he could say, oh, Juan Escalante has an old mind.
Yes.
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying, that it depends on the program and the skills you want to develop. Okay. Because, for example, if you are targeting an executive MBA, you know that they are not centennials at all. They are more or less 40, 38 years old. So they have a mindset that's pretty different to the mindset you find in this black box we called centennials. Yeah. Because they have different behaviors, different expectations, a different way of understanding life. So the strategy and the way you use to create the setting, the right setting for internationalization, of course, Peter, it will depend on the target you want to develop.
I've been thinking that we need also to have that healthy combination that Liliana was mentioning. Pardon me. We need to look at the curricula also. We used to have an IB course in every master programs, sometimes an international finance course also, and probably now every course could be an international business course or will have a global orientation. So that asks for different skills and even knowledge from faculty. And technology also helps not just to be looking at someone, but experiment some type of immersion. I was in a seminar last week, and there was a professor from ESAN that showed us. No, I'm sorry. No, there was a professor that showed us an immersion with metaverse. So you were in Paris, or you were in Shanghai, but you were in your school. Yeah, I don't know how it works actually, and what is the change that provoke in students, but every year or every day we have new resources to make it, right? So we cannot plan from now to the next 5 years will be this way or something like that. So we need to go improving and changing, and it's a mix of curricula and other aspects of the program, like travels, communications, and all that.
So, yeah, and one comment that you made is about faculty. So faculty is a good challenge to manage. So
They
especially,
have a lot of challenges now, actually.
and how are
We
you
have.
managing to really understand the new environment of internationalization, the new environment of artificial intelligence, metaverse, and so on? How are you managing in your faculty? Because it will help me.
It's a good and also a tough question.
It was not in the
Yes, it's not in the script, but
okay.
we can tell you and we can share with you our experience. We realize we are facing other reality, especially in the centennials. That's something you have to be aware of. What we are doing is trying to prepare our faculty, and we are doing several and huge efforts to let our faculty know that being prepared on AI, that being prepared in blockchain, it's a must, not just for them, for the school, because if you as professor are not well prepared in these topics, finally the school will suffer, and if the school suffers, the school won't be longer competitive. If the school is not longer competitive, we are dead, try or die. It's something like this. So we are trying, and we have done huge efforts with experts in these disciplines to let them correlate how, for example, finance could be linked to the metaverse. How, for example, marketing strategy could be related to metaverse, and we have done it.
You can call me. Oh, yeah, it's a good challenge. So,
Actually, we have been experimenting or experiencing remotely with our students, participating in meetings in other countries where students from other countries of the region are attending to. But we were actually expecting to resume physical traveling. We have not implemented anything more sophisticated than hybrid classrooms or something like that to work remotely and in presence. So I don't have the possibility to work with the metaverse yet. But no, we need to explore actually what can we do different in that sense.
okay. Oh,
So I was faculty just 3 months ago, so I will speak from that perspective for a minute. And what I think is we as faculty face so much pressure there's so much that is expected and required from us. Like we need to know about artificial intelligence and all these fancy new fourth revolution technologies. We need to be mindful of the mental health of our students. We need to understand about diversity, equity, and inclusion, equality and inclusion. We need to know about so many things and get them all right. So that is a huge pressure, and no one can be good at everything at every moment. So I think, and then stepping down from that perspective and thinking of my new role as dean, I think we also, in management positions, we need to be very mindful of that and the stress and life and work balances, pressures that put onto our teams, and it kind of develop a system in which we can understand and develop a sense very quickly on who can be interested and good at something specific, so that we have more we don't get people who are faculty who are very good at many things at the same time, but we somehow specialize them because it's just too much pressure, and we need to figure out a way to handle it.
yeah. But we have to remember about happiness.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good challenge for all of us to to find the right balance between what the faculty needs to be prepared, but also the right balance in their lives, probably.
And what
it's
you mentioned about age or demographics is
Age.
also valid for faculty.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, not just the students. So,
that's what I'm telling about me, find happiness and balance. Okay, how has business school implemented technology to become more international? Probably, Juan?
We have used technology more than going regional than international, because technology has showed us that there is a huge market that in the past we haven't reached. Let me tell you something. In Colombia, for example, the oil and gas sector represents 3.5% of the GDP, more than 40% of the Colombian exports. And it creates more than 50,000 jobs. These people couldn't be part of our university before. Why? Because they work in oil wells, they worked in platforms, and what we saw is that these people are interested in continuing education. So we say, okay, if you work in Barranca Bermeja, it's a place, it's a platform, the main oil platform in Colombia, you can study in EAFIT, and you can study using technology. And it was our bet. We invested more than $300,000 in technology. And we think right now, because we did it thinking in the short term, how to overcome the crisis derived from pandemics. But nowadays we said, okay, we have this infrastructure. Are we going to lose it? I think no. More than 8 billion people, 60% of the world using internet, growing at 10% each year. So it's a huge opportunity you can take advantage of. So we are using technology, as I said recently, more in terms of regional efforts rather than international efforts. Because, as I said, our main international pillars are in real time and face-to-face initiatives.
Okay. Oh.
more or less the same, not at a lesser level probably, but we started during the pandemic to receive students from provinces.
Okay.
And at the beginning it was because of what is happening now, no? But of course it's a good opportunity that we don't want to lose. And technology allows us to keep having them, even if we have some classes in our campus, because they also want to know the university and be with us and exchange, etc. But they do not have to travel every 15 days or once a month, which is very costly. It depends where they are located in the country. So that's an opportunity that I believe every one of us has to
Yes, of course.
work on.
Liana, do you have any comments or?
Well, we sort of have a similar experience, or we're heading in that direction of using our strengths as a school and then communicating them better to our like local market across the country and to our regional market. Because we think we have the opportunity to do that. But I really wanted to comment on sort of the dark side. The technology is a great enabling factor for things that we want to do. But it's not just putting the technology just there and let it do its job, because it doesn't do any job unless there's like a more substantial change going on. And that, I think in that, I would imagine we're all struggling to a certain extent. And I'm thinking about governance issues. Like if you think about a simple issue like attendance used to be being physically in a classroom. So when you have hybrid courses, how do you define attendance? Is it valid if someone is there and then someone isn't just because they're feeling kind of sick that day? Our internal regulation doesn't know how to deal with that. And that's something that we're sort of dealing with informally, and I think that's sort of a thing that needs to happen, right? Like changing governance structures and internal regulations and things like that. There's the issues of culture. So technology is like a part, if I may say, a small part of digital transformation. It has to be there for it to be called digital transformation, but it's just a small fraction of what needs to, the whole thing that you need to put in place. So there's a lot of challenges that we need to face and find a solution to if we want to get it right.
Yeah, you're right, because with technology, the way of teaching has to change. For example, I always believe that pedagogy matters more than ever. So, but also, it's not, when we are talking about digital transformation, we are talking about technology. You have to think about people, about process, about strategy, and about involvement from all over all the people in the school. So this is a great challenge. And also, talking about technology, probably it gives us many opportunities, open many opportunities, but also there are many threats. You know, now how are you thinking? This is also a difficult question. That's why I'm asking you.
You ask, and you just let us struggle with the question.
So, how about the big competitions? For example, online content providers, big school, very big school that now, we were talking 2 days ago, that they are, big school now are teaching Spanish. So they are competing very well. And it's, do you have any plan how to deal with this high competition, very intensive competition?
At least in
some
Ecuador,
ideas. I don't know
most
the
of
answer.
the competition from foreign university comes from Spain, and other providers, smaller providers probably, but they have, let's say, some standardized packages. And I believe that are good from some people, of course, and they cannot compare with our tuition prices, for example, so they are very economical. But they do not take into account the specificities of the context, of the culture, and everything. So probably for some subjects may be good. I do not believe they are good for a whole degree that gave great expectation to students of change in professional and personal terms after they get an MBA in our universities. And we have to make bigger efforts to differentiate. On the other side, we were mentioning also other type of providers, like consulting firms. Also, we have not experienced. Actually, we have partnerships with consulting firms. We deliver together some non-degree programs, but we design them together. So it's not that I bought their content and use it. No? But this is in Ecuador.
Start thinking, my friend.
In Colombia, we are facing this situation, but in addition to the Spanish competitors, we are now seeing how many American schools are coming to the country, and some of them are really good at what they do. So you immediately think, how can I face this new setting of competition? And for that matter, we said it is necessary to first strengthen your position in your hometown, because even though they can be huge overseas, going abroad is not as simple as people may think initially. We have faced it before. You say, okay, it's time to go overseas. You see a huge market, you see good opportunities, but once you are there, you realize that you don't have the connections, that you don't have the alumni, that you don't have anything that someone else has built. And in this setting, I think we can take advantage. We have been, for example, Universidad Hifid, we have been in the sector for more than 60 years. So 60 years of path record is something that you have to keep. It's something that you have to explode. But for example, in project management, one of our flagship programs, we have now students that prefer to go to Google. And we know it, that Google will be a competitor. And I think it's like competing against Coca-Cola. it's a huge monster that you say, okay, I'm not strong enough to say, let's compete. But in this scenario, you say, okay, how can I do, or what else can I provide to my students that make them go to Universidad Fit rather than say, I take a free course in Google, and not even free. Once you finish them,
If you want.
you stay like in a wish list for them to be part of the organization then. And who in the world doesn't want to be part of Google? It's the reality we face. So in this context, we say, okay, it's time to deploy a new strategy, and our first step is define where we want to be and where we don't want to be. Who will be our main stakeholders? What kind of programs we think are good enough to keep competitive, and what are the trade-offs that we have to accept? Because as you mentioned, Liliana, there is nobody and there is no organization and there is no business school that can be good at any point. Some are good at marketing, some are good at finance, some are good at strategy, but you cannot pretend being good at everywhere and at everything. It's our position, and our main word for the two previous years have been focus. Focus, 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 and learn how to say no.
And so probably one of the strategy could be partnership.
Yeah.
So could you tell me how you are working on partnership, and tell me your experience?
Yeah. Well, we're partnering with a number of schools in the region and also in Europe to before the pandemic, we used to invite a lot of professors over the European and North American summer to come and visit. But it was more like a one-to-one relationship with the professors that we couldn't do in a sort of structured and stable way during the pandemic. So we decided to sort of pivot and then go to the schools where these people worked and say, hey, we've been hiring and inviting this professor for the last 2 or 3 years to come and visit. Would you like to offer a course for our students? And then that's much more stable, and then they give our students a certificate. Students love certificates. And they go on their LinkedIn profiles, and there's advantages to that. So that's how we've been moving in terms of partnerships. But there was one thing that I wanted to add to the previous discussion, which is a keyword that keeps coming to my mind, which is humility. I think one of the things that we really need to learn in the higher education sector is the lesson from other disrupted industries. And it is humility. If you think of all the blockbusters in the world and the Kodaks in the world, they were arrogant enough to let their business go broke. And when the ones that really decide, okay, the world has changed and we need to adapt and we need to build better partnerships and we need to know it's not just a question of focus. It's that the focus gets narrower and narrower up to a point where what's left for me to do? So how do I partner with people like Google or people like Coursera and people who are great at what they do, and then recognize that they're really great and they're here to teach us as opposed to us teaching them how to educate centennials. So I think there's a lot of humility that we need to learn from other experiences and then adapt in a more sensible way.
Good. Someone?
In terms of partnership, most of the time partnership start with faculty, as Liliana mentioned, but then get formalized with the school. In that way, we can plan and get everything moving on. But I believe partnerships are complementarities, no? Looking what can offer to them and what them can offer to us. We have one-to-one partnerships. We're part of some networks. It depends of the purpose of the partnership. And most of the time, we need to look for consistency with the purpose and goals. Otherwise, it's impossible to manage in a fruitful partnership. You get frustrated at some time. No? But
also
it's
trust
that.
for the progress
Yes.
and humility.
No, yeah,
I
you
love the
need
word
to
because
build, you need to build trust.
We don't
And,
use it very much.
and something
We need a
interesting
lot.
about trust is that accreditations, international accreditation like MBAs, CSB, FMD, provide that type of trust that facilitates partnership beyond our region where we know each other, we are more close, etc. Because probably they don't know schools from abroad, from Europe or other countries, they don't know details about our schools, our faculty, but the accreditation build trust, and they have at least minimum quality standards, yeah, behave well, are fair in their processes, etc., etc., etc. So it's also a way, those accreditation contributes beyond being accredited to the internationalization processes or exchange processes, etc. No?
Yeah.
And not just with universities, because you mentioned Google and other companies. It's also good for that type
For
of relationship.
corporations.
Yeah, yeah, it's very important. You mentioned accreditation. For example, AMBA, SSB help us to have a good relationship with good partners, but also I think sharing the same values, the same
Yeah, that
purpose,
is the consistency, no?
which is very important. And do you want to make the last comment before
Yes.
going to
We strongly think and believe that cooperate is better than compete. Nobody knows better the Caribbean region than Uninorte. Nobody knows better Cali and the west part of the country than Isesi. Nobody knows better Medellin than us. And that's a reality, that's a fact. Thinking about it, we decided to create an alliance. The alliance is called 4O, and we said, okay, let's cooperate rather than compete. Let's stop struggling. Let's think as a good group, as a collective of people and institutions that share purpose, that share vision, that have a common DNA, and let's go together. Let's go, let's advance, and let's analyze, join programs, join and, for example, share professors, share infrastructure, share the best of the best we have, and also in international terms. We think that an international accreditation is more than a stamp. You cannot think about just a stamp in your presentations and you say that's all. It's not the matter at all. You need to take advantage of these spaces, and as Virginia said, try to find the more aligned partner you can find. The institutions have DNA. The challenge is to find an institution that share your DNA. And it's something that I think you can find in these kind of spaces.
Yeah, it's not just to count agreements or MOUs or whatever. You need to find specific.
For the institutional
purpose,
video and
yeah.
for the PPT, it's full of logos. It doesn't say anything.
And probably
So.
to compete with a big business school, we can make an agreement among business school in the region. Probably it could be
Or similar, or where we have
purposes.
a
Right.
affinity, but also complementarities and
so
all
after
that.
the meeting. Let's
And even with
Yeah.
foreign
Let's make an
universities,
agreement.
you need
Yeah.
to look at that at a lesser extent, but
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, we are running out of time. So I'm sorry. I was so. I give the floor to the audience. Some small. Only 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
we're very
There's some
excited.
question.
We were so passionate
We
about
were
the
so
topic,
passionate
yes,
about
okay, so
internationalization.
we can keep discussing that.
Okay.
Provocative question.
A probada.
I know yours were difficult, but this is.
More difficult.
with internationalization and with virtuality, one of the challenges I think that all of our schools might have is that you also are able to see the inequality that your student how unequal your student population is. And Virginia, you mentioned that you were able, students from the other regions were able to connect and assist to class. How easy was that?
The interaction?
The interaction, because like in our region, if a student was at home, sometimes they wouldn't have connectivity. And we had to send the computer and the chip to keep them active in class.
We do not experience such extreme necessity, but also we serve a middle class population with our programs, and we have a lot of diversity in terms of socioeconomic level with our programs and master programs before the pandemic. So students get used to interact with people and find the value, and we try strong to work with them for that, to find value in people which is not exactly like them. Some have a car, some not, some live in a neighborhood, very rich neighborhood, some others don't, they travel by bus, whatever. And at the end of the year, actually, or the 2 years or year and a half of the program, we are surprised of the affinity they find, how the study groups or study teams keep functioning when they graduate or so with those diverse people. Of course, depending on the provinces we get students, the situation are more complicated. But we do not see that some people might feel uncomfortable because of their origin or the economical situation or that, because we had that mix before in our classrooms.
Okay, I just shouted. I think there are two issues which are always mixed up here, because Virginia, for example, talked about reaching provinces and reaching people who reaching people who are remote but in your country. And the topic is internationalization. I think the long and the short of internationalization is that we have to recognize how multidisciplinary, how multidimensional it is. Because internationalization can start with your own faculty. How international is your full-time faculty? How international is your student body? How many people visit short-term, students as well as faculty? How many projects do you do abroad? With, let's say, physical visits. How many projects do you do with other schools in terms of visits or working together with internet-supported means and so on? So I think one of the key lessons talking about internationalization is that we should not be unidimensional about it. There are, regardless of where you are, regardless of what type of situation you are in, there are multiple opportunities to internationalize. Of course, depending on where you are, some are easier than others. But one shouldn't think about internationalization only as, for example, international student projects, because it might actually start with your own faculty.
Actually, at our school, we have been seen increasing the collaboration among teams of faculty, let's say, of networks from different parts of the world during this period of 2 years pandemic. Actually, I believe our faculty were more productive than before because they had a lot of opportunities. And you cannot imagine, sometimes you are waiting for the annual meeting, etc., 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 and you realize that you can have that meeting virtually, and you can keep working virtually too with those people. So before, probably you had also the tools, but you were used or you didn't see other options, and you expect that the faculty travel to your university or you're going for a residency period there or whatever. So it's actually something that we have seen and that we are keeping now, because once those relationships among faculty start, they do not dissolve easily if all of them find benefits in the relationship. That's true.
I totally agree with you. It's a multidimensional issue. You cannot think
Just
just about going overseas. It's about having faculty. It's about doing joint programs. It's about develop your network from the different stakeholders the school have. It's not just about how to bring my schools from Colombia to other country. It's to how to you create a good ecosystems that explores and balance the faculty research from all over the world.
Yeah, the thing I believe is that the pressing issues now are the classrooms,
20
actually. Yeah, no, and that's because probably we think about students so strongly, because all of us are trying to see how can I work with my classroom. Do I put technology? No. I bring all of them back to the campus or not, etc. No?
Okay, I
Something that's in the top of mind.
we are running out of time, so thank you very much to the panelists.
Thanks to you.
And a big applause for them, please.